Hello, this is Stevens92, and in this video I'm going to be looking back at the weekend's action, the opening weekend of the EFL this season. Before I do that, I'll just acknowledge that the Community Shield took place on Sunday and Arsenal beat Manchester City in a penalty shootout. That's great for them, but yeah, I must be honest, the Community Shield doesn't really mean a lot to me. It feels more like a glorified friendly. It's interesting to know who wins it, but not much else. I'm really looking forward to the start of a Premier League season though. But yeah, the Community Shield is just something to gloss over before the start of the season, but it's nice to win. Anyway, the EFL, and I thought it was a belter of an opening weekend. So much to talk about, so many eye-catching scores, some surprises, some big scores as well, which you don't normally get on opening weekend, and a postponement, which is unheard of. I'll get to all of that later, but yeah, so much to talk about from the opening weekend, so let's get straight to it, and I'll start at the very beginning. Sheffield Wednesday against Southampton on Friday night. Southampton won 2-1, and I thought it was a fully deserved win. I thought they played some wonderful football at times, Southampton, and you can clearly see Russell Martin's style of football, how quick he's been to implement that. And you know, some of the patterns that they weave together, I was really enjoying. The only thing to criticise is that they didn't create that many clear goal-scoring chances, and that nearly cost them in the end. It took until late on for them to get the winner, Shea Adams, with the finish. But it allowed Sheffield Wednesday, who'd been completely dominated for large parts, to stay in the game and still have hope. Going into the closing stages, they found an equaliser, Sheffield Wednesday, to set piece. But Southampton fully deserved the win. That's just something they've got to be aware of. Possession is one thing, but pretty football is another. But you need to be creating chances as well. But they fully deserve the win, no question about it. For Sheffield Wednesday, I think they'll have easier games this season. But what will be disappointing for them is that they didn't get much of a foothold in certainly in the first half. They did well to stay competitive in the game, but plenty of improvements to be made. But it's still early in what's been a bit of a disrupted summer for them. So we'll see how they go. And as for the rest of the championship action on Saturday, well, lots of eyes on QPR's capitulation really at Watford. They were so poor. Watford were very good and dominated the first half. Didn't have to work hard for their goals, but I mean, Watford did everything they needed to. They were professional. They could play better, but QPR, their attitude was all wrong. I looked at the second goal, Imran Loza's goal in particular, and thought, no one's closing him down. They gave him all the space in the world, and he's probably Watford's best player now, Loza, with Ismail Assar and João Pedro having left. To give him that sort of room to line up a shot from outside the penalty area, you were asking for trouble. And yeah, QPR, just the whole manner of their performance, especially on opening weekend, was so badly wrong, and it does hint at a prolonged struggle against relegation this season, something that I was sort of expecting, and I guess a lot of other people were coming into the campaign. They've struggled to recruit good players over the summer, you know, proven players. So Gareth Ainsworth has his work cut out for me after that, particularly after that. And, you know, they need a reaction from it, both in the Carabao Cup and in the next league match this weekend. Elsewhere, late winner for Norwich. That was a dramatic moment. The goal was a bit controversial because the whole centre-back McLaughlin was down. I thought it was a perfectly good goal, but Norwich fully deserved the win. It was a very promising performance from them. It would have been very unlucky for them not to have won. But I've got to pick out Jonathan Rowe. He's a product of the Norwich Academy, and he was outstanding. Certainly in the first half, and a magnificent finish for his goal. A couple of promising players have come through at Norwich recently, and yeah, by the looks of Rowe's performance on Saturday, you can't exaggerate at this point, can't get too excited, but it definitely was a performance which showed huge amounts of promise. And fair play to Norwich for getting the win, because they deserved it for their performance, especially, they had struggled so much at home at times last season, particularly towards the end. Other things I pick out: a very good win for Blackburn, and two youngsters scoring for them as well. It was quite eye-catching to see Harry Leonard and Dylan Markanday both in the starting 11, but they really did produce the goods. I was impressed by Markanday. He was very all-action. Leonard with a good finish for his goal too, and there was a lot of energy to Blackburn's display. West Brom did fight back in the second half, and Phillips with a glorious finish, Matt Phillips, but not quite enough. So that away form, which was perhaps the main reason why they didn't sneak into the playoffs last season, is just something that they need to improve. Elsewhere, there was a controversial goal at Ashton Gate too. Preston equalising late on, probably a fair result, but it did look like handball against Frokar Jensen, the new signing. Didn't seem like he knew much about it, but you can see why there were some complaints. But a debut goal for Will Keane, and he took it so well. He was surrounded really by opposition players, so did really well to find the finish. But it was a competitive game. Great win for Millwall at Middlesbrough, and they deserved it as well. It was wonderful to see the two young substitutes linking up, and what a great finish by Romain Essa. And very exciting for Millwall fans there, the way they played, and B, to see those youngsters coming on and really delivering like that. There's grounded optimism at Stoke this season, and well, on the basis of that performance, 4-1 winners against Rotherham on Saturday, there's a lot to be excited about. It's hard to get too positive about Stoke, given how many times they've let their supporters down over recent seasons. But that display on Saturday, how dominant they were at times, and some of the football they played certainly hints towards something much better this season. But it's a good start. That's all you can describe it as at the moment. But Vidigel, a new signing who they're excited about at the Bet365 Stadium. 2 goals for him in first half stoppage time, both well taken. Good win for Stoke. Rotherham would be a bit concerned at how easily they conceded those goals on the flip side. Well beaten in their opening game. They'll be disappointed. Set pieces as well, they could have defended better. So a bit to work on for Rotherham. As for Sunday's games, I must admit I was really excited for the games on Sunday. They all looked really good on paper, and they truly delivered. Leicester against Coventry, that just got better by each passing minute. The first half was a decent watch. Leicester, I thought, were on top, but Coventry really came into it in the closing stages of the half. And tell you what, the performance of Gustavo Hamer was just outstanding. Hamer looked a top class player, the way he ran the game, certainly from the 40-minute mark onwards before he was substituted. Coventry were in front by that point, and I just think, I know he was carrying a bit of a knock, but to see Hamer coming off perhaps just saw Coventry lose a little bit of momentum. Before then, they were playing extremely well. Leicester were running out of ideas, but a double change from Leicester changed everything. Coventry still remained a threat, but Leicester really did get a shot in the arm from those 2 substitutions. While I was watching it, I was thinking, how long are they going to take before bringing on Kelechi Iheanacho? Because Jamie Vardy had been quite ineffective. They'd struggled to get him into the game, and they were really struggling to find any fluency. It was looking like Coventry were the more likely to score. They should have done, with Matt Godden having a couple of clear sights at goal. But Leicester made the changes, and they were a different side, I have to say. Whenever Steffi Mavididi received possession for Leicester, it felt like something was going to happen. until the first Leicester goal, until the equaliser, he'd been very bright in the first half, but had hardly had the ball in the second half. But then he received possession and just carried the ball forward, a little bit of trickery, and he set them on the break, and a lovely cross from Dennis Pratt, which Kiernan Dewsbury Hall headed in. Dewsbury Hall, before Sunday's game, did stand out as a player who could have a really special season, could be very influential in the Leicester midfield, maybe take the baton from James Maddison as Leicester approach Championship football. And he certainly demonstrated that that's not out of the question. Good header for the equaliser and a terrific finish for the winning goal. I mean, the composure and the finish, just tremendous. Picked out the top corner, took his time. It was a really great thing. And the game itself, it was thrilling to watch in that second half. Haji Wright coming on and seeing a shot deflected onto the bar, that was another great moment. It was non-stop entertainment. And Leicester, it was just quality. It was just their quality which shone through in the end. Coventry can, feel a bit hard done by to lose given their performance, but if they play like that, and let's not forget they've lost Victor Gyökeres over the summer. They've got a completely new back three, and I thought they all played quite well. With Bobby Thomas with no experience in the Championship before, he got across and made some crucial challenges at times. McFadzean with the Coventry goal, he's the one who's been there and done it in the Coventry side before. Latibodia, very promising. So there are lots of positives for Coventry, but just disappointed that they lost the game. And just a fun fact, that last time Coventry and Leicester faced each other in the Championship was they met each other on the opening weekend as well. That was back in the 2011-12 season. I love these little facts. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that one in there. Then that followed on into Leeds against Cardiff, and that was a cracker as well. I didn't know what to expect going into this game from either side actually, but I was impressed by both. It finished 2-2. Leeds equalising right at the death through Crescencio Somerville. It was a draw that Leeds fully deserved in the end. They deserved at least a point. But having led 2-0 and having put in such a committed performance over the 90 minutes, I have to admit I really felt for Cardiff at conceding the equaliser. The way the ball broke to Somerville was perhaps a bit fortunate, but it was a fine finish, instinctive as you like. And I have to say Somerville deserved that goal because of all the Leeds players, he was probably the most likely at any given point of the game. He was their brightest spark throughout, and they had some, really, there are lots of flair players out on that pitch with Sinistera and Nonto. I would have to praise Archie Gray on his first league start as well. I thought he impressed. But yeah, Leeds were very good. Sustained pressure in the second half. There was a lot of unrest around at half time. Cardiff 2-0, and I was pleasantly surprised by them too. They've signed some good players in recent weeks. Among those, Josh Bowler, Carlin Grant, and obviously Aaron Ramsey is the big headline signing for them as he's returned. They all played and they put in one heck of a shift. Cardiff, covered every blade of grass, but whenever they had possession, what impressed me the most is that, they didn't look to just defend. It wasn't, it wasn't a case of, give the ball straight back to Leeds. They really did try and play. I sensed that especially in the first half. They looked to get the ball forward quickly, but not, with long ball football. I thought they passed the ball around nicely. Ike Ugbo was good in attack, his hold-up play. That led to the first goal, actually. He got the assist for Josh Bowler to score at the second attempt and helped himself to the second goal. Ugbo's had a bit of a checkered career, but there were so many positive signs with his performance on Sunday. And Cardiff, they'll be so disappointed not to have held on, but there's so much to build on from that performance. A shout out to Ebo Adams as well, because he's been injured for a whole year, never played in the Championship before, signed from Forest Green in the summer of 2022. after Joe Rules had to go off on the half-hour mark, Adams was thrown into that match, but he was fantastic. His commitment, personified that Cardiff performance. He won a number of duels. He was all action, and I thought he really stood out after coming onto the pitch. So that's another positive sign. But it was important for Leeds that they came back, because the supporters were really getting on the team's backs at half-time. Substitutions made a difference, but Somerville's performance, really did, make a difference in the end. And finally, for the Championship, it was Sunderland against Ipswich. Ipswich coming out on top 2-1. It's a great result for Ipswich, and they perhaps showed why so much is expected of them this season after promotion. Ipswich, who steamrolled so many teams last season on their amazing run to promotion. They had to withstand a very tough start. Sunderland were onto them very quickly. Asked lots of questions of their defence. Joby Bellingham missed a good chance, rushed his finish after the ball fell to him on the rebound. But Ipswich steadily grew into the game, and some of the chances they created were, very good ones. And obviously just before half-time, they found the breakthrough. It was a clever finish from Nathan Broadhead against the club he helped to promotion 2 seasons ago. And they grew in stature from that point. Ipswich in the second half in particular, until Sunderland were reduced to 10 men, had a real level of control over the game. They grew in stature big time. Sunderland, to their credit, it looked like game over when Trey Hume was dismissed, but instead everything flipped on its head. Sunderland were a completely reborn team and they threw everything at Ipswich in the end. It felt like Ipswich were the team down to 10 men. They scored a good goal, Sunderland, and they were throwing the kitchen sink at it in stoppage time. 13 minutes of it, and so close to the equaliser with the last action of the game. And you wouldn't have begrudged Sunderland that either, for their overall performance, but just for their just for the effort they put in. Ipswich, one of 2 promoted teams to win in the Championship on opening weekend. That leads me on to Plymouth, who I haven't mentioned yet, and I must, because what a victory that was. They had to ride their luck at times. I'm not going to ignore that, but the performance was phenomenal in the end. Some of the goals they scored, and we saw exactly why they wanted so much to bring back Morgan Whittaker and Barley Mumba. Whittaker's goal may have been scruffy, but Mumba's performance was head and shoulders above anyone else on the pitch. His goal lit up home park. I think Huddersfield made it a bit too easy for him to burst through, but it was just a lovely goal. And Ryan Hardy making it 3-1 shortly after with another great finish. There's such excitement at Plymouth at the moment. You can hear it with the atmosphere, and their home record is extraordinary, and it's going to be a key part of their attempts to compete in the Championship this season. Huddersfield played well, but it just wasn't to be for them. But Plymouth are a real success story at the moment, so it'd be interesting to see how they kick on from that. Into League One, and one place to start. Barnsley 7, Port Vale 0. What a scoreline, and what a start as Barnsley manager for Neil Collins. The team showed no ill effects from their playoff final defeat at the end of May, and it just got ridiculous in the end how easy it became for Barnsley to score goals. I have to say, Port Vale's body language looked grim. It did look too easy for Barnsley to score in the end. Some of the goals showcased amateurish defending, but all credit to Barnsley. They were ruthless, and Devante Cole in particular. Barnsley are a team who utilise their wing backs very well. Neil Collins hasn't changed that aspect of their play from what we saw last season under Michael Duff. But yeah, 7-0, it's a dream start. Elsewhere, mixed fortunes for the three relegated teams. Blackpool kind of sauntered to victory in the end against Burton Albion. Two first half goals from Shane Lavery. I mean, he's such a goal poacher. I think he'll score plenty in League One this season. It was a classic Lavery goal, the first one. The second one was a good finish, but they won with minimal fuss. New look midfield also had a good start. Albie Morgan alongside new captain Oliver Norburn, both impressed. Reading were unlucky against Peterborough. Not much wrong with their performance, but they just couldn't score, and they were caught out by an amazing header really from Ephron Mason-Clark. The angle was so against him, but yeah, he managed to pick out the far side of the net. It was against the run of play. Reading, had so many nearly moments. It just didn't quite happen. So it's a shame for them, but keep playing like that, and they should win more than they lose. And Wigan, what a great start for them against Derby. I think it's hugely important for them to wipe out that 8-point deduction as soon as they possibly can. Derby away, extremely tough place to start. So to get that victory was huge. Charlie Wyke, great to see him score twice. He took his goals really well too. The first one came after a poor back pass, which he took full advantage of. But Wyke, who's had some tough times in the past year or so, that was a very promising start to the season for him. Derby, I had them among my favourites for promotion. I mean, the club stature is immense, but I'm not entirely sure about them at the moment. They had some good periods in the game, and the Wigan winner came sort of against the run of play, but they're just not filling me with great confidence in terms of them being definites for promotion. So I think the jury's still out. Elsewhere, Bolton getting off to a strong start. Set pieces leading to goals against Lincoln. Two very good headers, especially the first one from Jack Iredale. That settled them down a lot, and it was a comfortable win. We know what Mark Kennedy would be working on in training this week with the set pieces. The first two goals, not good. Exeter off to an amazing start. 2 goals up in the first 4 minutes. Wickham were, sleepy. I think that's how you can describe them. Just didn't get going at all. Worrying start for them. Matt Bloomfield, a bit to think about. It was a poor performance. When you go 2-0 down inside 4 minutes in the opening game of the season, then that sets a very bad tone for things. But Exeter, who I've tipped to struggle this season, they've emphatically responded, I guess, to those predictions with that performance. Missed a penalty as well, but I just thought the way they played, or the highlights I've seen, they looked so confident in their play. So that's a great start, but Wickham need to wake up. Portsmouth with an equaliser right at the end against Bristol Rovers. Kusini Yengi with the header, first senior goal for him. Portsmouth's pressure paying off. I was impressed by Bristol Rovers' resilience. A good goal to Giovanni Brown. I think we'll see him get a lot of assists this season, and he got his first by setting up Luke Thomas for a first half goal. But it was just Portsmouth's pressure paying off. But they haven't quite reached their fluency yet. I think as the new players bed in a bit more, we'll definitely see more of that from Pompey. Newly promoted clubs, 2 of them met at Sixfields. Stevenage winning 1-0 at Northampton. Northampton should have got something from that. They hit the bar and the post in the first half, and Stevenage took advantage at a set piece. Carl Piergiani, it was just over the line despite John Guthrie's attempts. But a good win for Stevenage, and a good start. Leyton Orient narrowly beaten at Charlton. I was impressed by Corey Blackett-Taylor's performance for the home side there. But Leyton Orient, it's a tough place to start, and they've got some tough games coming up too. But it wasn't a bad display by any means from what I saw. And Carlisle against Fleetwood was a very competitive game. There were chances at both ends. There was a real ebb and flow to it from what I could see. And Owen Moxon, what a great free kick. I mean, you can see why he's so highly prized. He's a set piece specialist, and you see him in general play, the passes he picks out, it just feels like he belongs at quite a high level. He's gone up a level this season, so it'd be really interesting to see how he fares, and indeed if Carlisle can keep hold of him beyond the transfer deadline. The one blemish for Carlisle was certainly out of the team's control, and that was the fan trouble, the crowd trouble, which saw missiles being thrown. Not good. So yeah, hopefully they can resolve that. In League Two, well, all eyes were on the newly promoted clubs, Wrexham in particular, but also Notts County. I don't think anyone would have expected them to both concede 5. Not anyone. It was remarkable. MK Dons in front at Wrexham in 2-0 up, actually, inside the opening 10 minutes. It finished 5-3 in the end. Great game with so much incident, but the defending left so much to be desired. Wrexham will have to work on a lot there. They had a couple of players missing there, but yeah, but you know they have to be better. Wrexham. It was a bit of a naive performance in some ways, although I must say the two MK Dons forwards, Jonathan Lecco and Mohamed Issa, they have no business being in League Two. They're top end League One players. Lecco's got the potential to be much more than that as well. So, you know, you're probably facing the best strike partnership in the division as things stand. But Wrexham do still need to defend better. 3 goals is a positive, but yeah, there's definitely things to work on. Notts County, it was just a horror show as far as they were concerned. Going behind, a free header from a corner right at the start, and it just got progressively worse from there. Had their goalkeeper Aidan Stone sent off, and Sutton just ran rings around them. It was good for David McGoldrick to get off the mark, but yeah, it was a really bad day at the office, and I was actually quite struck by some of Luke Williams' post-match comments. He was very scathing, actually. So yeah, I think we're expecting a response in their upcoming games. But Sutton were fantastic. Amari Patrick could be one of the signings of the season in League Two, and he suggested that right away with 2 brilliantly taken goals. Anywhere elsewhere in League Two, lots expected of Doncaster, but they didn't really turn up against Harrogate and were beaten by a penalty kick. Harrogate probably deserved that win. Doncaster didn't get going. So many poor results last season, Doncaster. I think they'll be quite keen to, get moving back in the right direction. Also, Mansfield 2-0 up at Crewe. Davis Keeler done with 2 fine finishes. His first goal, he manufactured it beautifully. Collected the ball back to goal, took his time, found the bottom corner, even though some Crewe defenders were in front of him. It was a fabulous finish. But obviously Crewe responded quickly, pulled one back, and when the red card happened and Crewe equalised, you felt Crewe would probably go on and win, but Mansfield did well to hold on. I think both teams will have mixed feelings from that game. Brilliant win for Crawley against Bradford. Lots of doomy predictions for Crawley this season, but I think they'll actually surprise a few people. I don't think they'll be in the promotion race, don't get me wrong. I don't think they'll be anywhere near there, but I do think that they'll actually improve on last season's finish, despite many people tipping them for relegation. And a great win to start things off against Bradford. I must be honest, I had no idea that Will Wright could take free kicks. He's a centre-back as well. But yeah, marvellous free kick. It was a long way out. Not sure it was quite as good as Owen Moxon's for Carlisle, but it was a great free kick. Talking of good goals, Keon Spence for Barrow. What a goal. I mean, he set up their first goal for Niall Canavan. I mean, that was a bit of a miscued shot, which Canavan diverted in. It was a strange goal. But Spence's winner, Barrow won't score a better goal than that again this season. I'll be amazed if they did. What a volley it was. The technique just special. And yeah, Spence will probably never score a better goal than that himself. So yeah, that's definitely one to watch. Any other games to point out? Salford, good win at Forest Green. They've got a bit of a thin squad, Salford, but they did well. It was a good away performance, textbook away performance. Morecambe with a late winner over Walsall. Goal from a set piece. That was a very close game, and I think the promising sign for Walsall was Dan Johnson scoring for them again. I mean, he's a very reliable source of goals in League Two. It wasn't surprising to see him get off the mark, but on the losing side here. Accrington, good start for them. 3-0 winners over Newport County, and it does look pretty worrying for Newport. I do expect them to be down there, but Accrington, I mean, there's not a huge amount of positivity for them following relegation, but I thought there was a really energetic performance. Jack Nolan really announcing himself. I mean, the goal he scored, the opening goal, it wasn't his first chance. He made some really clever runs from midfield. That's where his goal came from. And the diving header for the second goal for Accrington was also really, really good. But yeah, one of the crazy things about League Two on Saturday was that Colchester against Swindon postponed. I mean, the weather was shocking, but still, it's remarkable to see a game on the opening weekend called off. I think it's the first time it's ever happened. That's how unusual it is. But yeah, it's just a really strange thing. But yeah, I think that's everything. Like I say, so many talking points from all three divisions, and yeah, it's just whetted the appetite for what's to come. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on the opening weekend, please share them. It'd be interesting to hear who you support. If you leave a comment, that'd be much appreciated, and do like and subscribe as well. So until next time,